welcome. Today is Sunday, March 30th, 2025, here in the lovely Spring Green, Wisconsin. It is raining again today, but spring, I guess April showers, we're getting close to April, bring May flowers, so we're looking forward to the May flowers, and I guess if the rain is what we have to do to get there, to make it through, I guess we'll do that. So. But welcome, Susan Cross Stitches, Susan X Stitches, floss tube number 2 today. And this one will contain a spring soiree review of the country sampler. And it will also include some fully finished projects that I have for you to share with you, some finished projects, and then my WIPs. So without further ado, we're just gonna jump right in. First of all, though, I want to say thank you to every single one of you who reached out, took the time to watch my floss tubes number 1 and my floss tube extra number 1 with my favorite tools. You took the time to subscribe, to like, and also comment and share all of the kind words and messages and sweet sentiments for me and with me, and that truly means the world to me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. We'll just keep going strong, and hopefully this will be something, the start of a good thing. So thank you again. It really means a lot. Okay, so this past weekend, Friday actually and Saturday, so Friday, Saturday, yesterday, was the Country Sampler Spring Soiree, and I had the pleasure of going down to go shopping and seeing all the market releases, seeing the Country Sampler shop all set up for spring. It was absolutely beautiful. Highly recommend a visit if you haven't made it out here or up here. I would totally recommend it. There's just so much beauty everywhere you look, and the pictures just like everything, don't do them justice. So take some time and come spend a little bit of time in Spring Green at Country Sampler. I know they would love to see you, and you would enjoy what you found there. But while I was there, I had heard there was a little rumor that maybe Alma Allen of Blackbird Designs was going to be attending as a guest designer, and she did in fact make it. So that was extra special for me. I had never met Alma. And but you know, of course, every time there's a who's your favorite designer, I always have to say Blackbird. I think their products and their designs are truly timeless, and I love the color palettes that they choose and have chosen, and they're classics for me. So Blackbird Designs and Alma and Barb did a great job over the years, and Alma is continuing on. And wow, this last chart that she released at market is beautiful, and I was able to see the antique for both of these new releases. So Gifts of the Season and The Sweet Bird Sings, and so I was able to see the originals, and I was able to talk with Alma, and she spent some time sharing with me about her design process and how she had modified the original a little bit. The original wasn't, the motifs weren't necessarily centered, so she centered them and she mirrored them on both sides, left to right. She also changed up the border from the original in her work and her design. So it was just really interesting to talk to her, and my goodness, what a gracious and generous woman she was. She spent probably as much time as I wanted to share with her, as I would have wanted to share. She would have taken time for me, so I felt very special to her, and it was just really great experience and super fun. She also took some time and personalized copies of these 2 new releases for me, so that will make these prized possessions. And yeah, I'm gonna have to get another copy of each though, because I'm not gonna want to work out of these. I'm gonna want to preserve these. So anyways, I think she's smart to do some signatures like that, because then that'll make us buy more. Okay, so that was Friday and Saturday, and then Next on our list that that we're going to talk about today or do today is I have some, like I said, fully finished, some finished objects, and then my WIPs that I want to walk through with you. I also then will, after we do our top-down camera, which seemed to work pretty well on the tools, my favorite tools video, we're going to do that again today, and I hope that it works today on today's work as well. So we're going to try that, and so then I'll come back after that those, and we'll just do a little wrap up. But I'll have some plans, I'll have some haul to share with you, and then I also want to talk about my stitch along that I'm hosting with So Be It Lorraine for the masterpiece in the making, the Heart's Content Maureen Appleton stitch along. So just going to talk briefly about that at the end, and then wrap it up. So thank you for coming back and joining me today. I hope that you will enjoy the next part of our show. Thank you. Camera, and we're going to just go through again some of my past finishes here. Some are fully finished. I'll show you those first, and then a few of them are not fully finished from my very past. So let's see how we can see this. Okay, so here we are. This is called, and hopefully the colors are okay. Again, it's raining here in Spring Green today, and so I don't know how the colors are coming off exactly, but hopefully they're okay, and if not, I will re-record on a better day, but hopefully this will work out for us. Okay, this is called Pollinator's Garden by October House Fiber Arts, and this was a kit from Country Sampler. It was 36 count Milk and Honey by Fiber on a Whim with the called for Classic Colorworks, Weeks, and Gentle Arts. And these little tiny little stitches, 36 count, 1/2. They had, or there's little bumblebees, and then all these little flowers. And I apologize that the camera is unable to zoom out further, but it kind of doesn't look good if it does zoom out. So right now this is what we have. It is about, just so you know, it's like 15.5 inches, so it's pretty long, and it's by about 2 inches, maybe even a little less, but about 2 inches. This again was a kit from Country Sampler, and so they had included backing fabric, and so of course I used that for the finish. Theirs did not have any little pom-pom or any finishing trim, and I decided that it needed it, and so I found some Lady Dot Creates miniature pom-poms, and I added it. One thing that I did do was again, well, actually not again, I've never told you this story, so I'll share it now. I do not know how to use a sewing machine. My brother was a senior in high school, and the girl that really, really liked him happened to be, when I was a freshman, by the way, so he was a senior, I was a freshman. But the girl that really liked him happened to be the home economics helper in the classroom, and so because of that, she did all of my sewing for me. And so I literally have no clue how to use a sewing machine. I my mother has her mother's 1946 Singer featherweight, I guess, or I don't know, it's not, it's a dressmaker, sorry. And it's a beautiful machine, but I have no heavenly idea how to use the thing. It's a classic, though, I'm told, and it works. And anytime I want to learn, I know my mother would be more than happy to teach me. But I say that a little tongue-in-cheek. I doubt that she would want to teach me, but in any event, it would be pretty funny for me to try to learn now, I think. So these are all hand stitched. These are all, these are pieced together by hand. These are then cut and then and then I did a running stitch along it to piece it together. I turned it with my turning tools and my chopsticks. This one was especially long and required the chopsticks. If you watched my tool, my favorite tool FLOSSTUBE extra the other day, you learned about that and or saw that, and then I filled with walnut shells, and then hand couched all of these little guys, these little pom-poms on. Now, what I was saying before I got started with all that was I think that I looked at it a couple of ways. I tried it a couple of ways, but I kind of thought it added a little more interest to it to keep this up, this side up. So that was a little bit by design, to keep this little piece. I don't even know what it's called, but it's basically what they use to keep the little pom-poms sewn together. But I thought it added some visual interest, and I decided to use it in my project, and I love how it turned out. So stitching and the finishing work is not perfect. It is not, you know, Fay Rigsby beautiful, but for something like this, I think it's gorgeous and very special. So again, this is Pollinator's Garden October House Fiber Arts, kitted by the Country Sampler, and I know that they still have that or would do that for you if you chose to do it. Again, 15.5 inches by about 2. So hand finished, filled with walnut shells. I love this guy, and you will see a very similar theme in everything you see today. Spring is my favorite season, and so you're going to see a lot of my favorite seasonal items that I've finished. May not have fully finished, but these are still beautiful pieces to me, and now that I look at them again, I'm like, why aren't these things finished? So you're going to see in today's episode a lot of things that need to be fully finished, and will be well on their way to doing so after this episode. So thank you for the inspiration, to all of you for that, and me getting this out and showing you everything. But this is gorgeous, and I recommend stitching it if you haven't. She also, October Fiber Arts also has a topiary row that I want to do that would be very adorable complementary piece. So check into that as well, topiary row. Okay, so that is Pollinator's Garden. Next piece I'm going to talk about is Blackbird Designs LaLa book, from their book, and this was designed for Country Sampler by Barb Adams, and I think, and so when I saw this down at Country Sampler last year, I was like, oh my goodness, a spring green girl has to have a spring green pin keep. And so I asked them to get it kitted up for me, and they did so graciously. And so we have a 36 count Weeks baked clay by Fox and Rabbit. We have their selected cotton backing fabric, and then it had little rickrack trim piece. I'm sure it's either Dames of the Needle or Lady Dot Creates rickrack tiny, but then it's all hand sewn again, pieced together and filled with walnut shells, and then I couched on the rickrack. And as you can see, this was my very, very, very first piece that I ever did like this or made into a pin keep. So it's, again, not perfect. Corners look a little rough, but if you're looking at it from afar and taking your glasses off and being generous in your assumptions today, it's pretty sweet. And so spring green, again, Blackbird Designs from the LaLa book. And I just really felt that because I was a spring green girl now, I needed to have that. And so that was one of my first things that I did. It does have some 1/1 stitching with the 2024 and the S and the V. So my initials are SVK. And so the S and the V, I actually charted those out, found a a font that would work from the book, and then did 1/1 and then filled in the gap and charted it on my own. So spring green, very, very sweet, very, very special little piece, and just, oh my goodness, the colors are just gorgeous. So I know that yeah, I don't know, this is actually one of my very favorite pieces in my dough bowl. So I need to get some more Blackbird little finishes like this. They're so sweet. Okay, that is that piece. Now we are at, and I will be adding to these videos, or to this video, what the chart looks like. So you'll be able to see it, hopefully, on screen at the end when I edit. Okay, so this is the I think it's Dearest Jean, by Mrs. Flossie Designs. And Mrs. Flossie designed this in memory of Jean Lee at the attic. As we know, Jean passed away at the end of January, and she was truly a pillar in the community, and a woman that did so much for the community and our craft. And so to advance it and to keep the, I don't know, keep the spirit alive and keep the interest alive. So it memorializes a woman who did so much for that, and then also it celebrates, in my mind, it celebrates my mother, whose name is Jane, and so her first initial would also be J. She absolutely has always had a cardinal collection of red glass. And so red is a beautiful color for my mother also, and meaningful. And but it's basically in celebration of her, because she so graciously shared her love and her wisdom of stitching with me and taught me how to do these beautiful things. So I actually started this in, I think it was early February. I just finished it just this week, and then I decided I was going to get it fully finished because I have a trip to Kansas and I want to take it to my mother, and so I want her to see it. But anyways, this is 40 count cream and sugar fiber on a whim. I used Soie d'Alger 2926, and I used Avera Soie 103 523 for the lighter color of red, and then I used Classic Colorworks Blackbird on the black for the little cardinal face. And I did finished with Lady Dots Creates Pomegranate Velvet. I thought it looked like a pretty good little match to that 2926 silk. And then I also used, I think this is a fiber infusion. I think they call it a pom-pom. It's kind of a lace, if you ask me, but I wanted it to stand out, and I didn't, this was the first time that I had done this, so it does not look extra great. Some areas there's promise, but then there's also problems with it on my corners. But in any event, there's a couple of loose areas I need to go back and at least couch that, but make it look a little bit better. But anyways, I wanted this guy to stand out and kind of make it be a little bit different and a little bit more special. Corners were hard for me, and stitching through by hand, that little piece of I don't even know, the little piece of cotton from the lace it took a lot. And so clearly I have some work to do to learn how to do this better, but or maybe I just need more patience. But anyways, it is finished, and I will give it to my mother when I see her in a couple of weeks, and I know she's going to love it. And I did the always forward, never backward, and also for my mother, and I sent that off to her for Valentine's Day. So this will complete that collection, and yeah, she'll be excited, and she'll be happy to have a set of 2. So thank you, Mom, for teaching me, and thank you, Jean Lee, for doing so much for the community and the art and the craft, and thank you, Mrs. Flossie, for designing this chart. And making it available to all of us to stitch. Okay, now I'm going to move into some that are just finishes, not fully finished. And we're going to have a whole slew of these, so bear with me. The first one on the list is called Redbird Sampler by the Spanish Stitcher. And this is stitched. I saw one of our dear friends on Instagram, Susie Q Runs with Needles. She had done this, I think maybe for her blessing sampler in January, and I saw it and I was like, oh my goodness, that is so darling. It's about 4 inches by 3 inches, so it's tiny. It's on 56 count paper bark by Fox and Rabbit. It's 1/2, and I used Aversois 103s for the finish, or for the floss. You see 2 colors here. I don't know if the screen is going to show it super well, but you're going to see a little bit of a theme that I like to call out a K, or my letter. My last name is K-A-Y, and so I like to call out or highlight it somehow, make it a little bit different in some of these alphabet samplers for that. And so the way I did it in this case was just chose a little bit darker strand color. And so those were my 2 that I chose. 115 was 103s, Aversois 103s. Number 115 was the majority, and then just the letter K was 584. So I think that came out very, very, very sweet. It is headed off to the framer next week. I have to go pick up some finished work, so that is going to be also dropped off, and I cannot wait to see this baby framed. I think he is so sweet and so special. My back's not super great, and I always go back and clip the ends a little bit, but you know, when you're moving these pieces around and preparing them, I do like to leave my ends longer and then come back and clip, because you know, you don't want it to pull, and you don't want to have it be too short that you in all the movement, in the hustle and bustle of everything, you accidentally, you know, have threads pulled out even before you get it to the, you know, to the framer or whatever. So that'll be a last step that I do before I hand it off over there to my framer. So very, very sweet Redbird Sampler by the Spanish Stitcher. I don't think I said that. And 56 count paper bark, Fox and Rabbit. And I chose 103, 115, and 103, 584 for a nice taupey color. I think it'll be really pretty when it's framed. And, you know, kind of vintagey looking, antique-y looking. So, okay, that is one. I started this guy on, or whatever, maybe it's a gal, started this beautiful piece on March 3rd, and I finished on March 9th. And so it was a very quick little stitch, but beautiful, and excited for that to be finished. Okay, so that is my most recent finish. Now we're moving into what I'm calling some past spring finishes. Now, some of these finishes literally may be from the 90s. And so as we get here, we're just going to do a little bit of a time warp and go back in time. And I hope that all of these will fit on my screen, and I hope that they'll be conveyed well. So this first one is called Blossoms. This was a kit, a trilogy by the Trilogy. And so the Trilogy was a group of designers, 3 of them. They were Twisted Threads, Heart and Hand, and Bent Creek. They are no longer designing together. I believe I know Bent Creek and Heart and Hand, and I think Twisted Threads is designing independently still, but their Trilogy, their collaboration is no longer. This was a kit. Again, it's a 32 count, 2/2 summer khaki Belfast linen. And these use the called for Weeks Dye Works Gentle Arts. It contains some French knots. It has a B button. It has what they called road stitches. And I'm not entirely sure. I need to go back and look it up, because road stitches is road, RHODES, is what they called it in the is in the chart. But it looks to me like it's a Smyrna. So I don't know. There must be a slight difference between the two, or they would have called it a Smyrna. So there's some diagonal satin stitches here in the border. Then there are some not very good satin stitches. I needed my satin, my laying tool for that, because this is, you can kind of see I've pulled a little too tight there, and it kind of looks, you know, kind of looks a little, I don't know, yucky, but this was back in the 90s, and it's still pretty sweet. I think it's a timeless piece, and I'm excited to get this off to the framer as well, or made into a little pin keep. I haven't decided exactly, but regardless of whatever it is, however I end up finishing it, it's going to be soon, and I think it's pretty special. So there's some of the road stitches inside the topiary here in the flower pots. And then some of these satin stitches, diagonal stitches along here. So the French knots, later in today's episode, I'll show you my very first French knot. These were French knots, though, that my mother did on my behalf. So they are beautiful, and hopefully you are able to see all of that. So that is the first one. Okay, the next one is called Buzzz by Bent Creek, and it is, oh my goodness, so adorable. This linen I am in love with. It's a as I look back on all of these things, I'm like, again, why aren't these framed, Susan? This is ridiculous. Or why aren't these finished? Like, this would be an adorable either little frame or little you know, little pen keep or something, right, on the top of a box, or in a box on the bottom or something. I mean, there's so many little finishes that you can do with these. But anyways, regardless, it was just folded into a square, and sadly, not really loved as much as it should have been. But I love it still after I'm looking at it, and this linen is so beautiful. So it's a 32 count, 2/2. And the fabric is called Autumn Leaves by R&R Reproductions. Again, there are road stitches in here. There are 3 little buttons. There's some back stitching, and the linen is, you know, there's greens, and there's red tinge and orange tinge and yellow and some pinks and some browns. And so I don't know if the camera is fully capturing it all, but it's, I mean, you can just see all the modeling and all the movement in that linen, and I would like to have a bigger piece of this in a smaller count, so I wouldn't have to stitch it 2/2. But you know, I could try to find a piece of this if it exists. I don't even know if they still make it, and do a 1/2. Or I'm sorry, a 1/1 on this 32 count, and make it extra tiny. So even though I do stitch predominantly, you know, 40 count and above these days, I still, you know, you can still definitely make small little tiny projects by stitching 1/1, and utilizing some of this lower count linen. So again, Buzzz and Bent Creek, adorable. And I just think he's pretty sweet, so I need to get him made into something finished, because little Buzz B needs to be visible every day to me. Okay, so that is that piece. The next one that I want to talk about and show here. Let's see if I can get this onto the screen and get it all there. Maybe it's going to cut out just a little bit. Let's just see if I can just go out a little more. Maybe. Anyways, hopefully you can see that. So this is Springs Abloom, and this is a heart and hand. This was from their Wee Ones series collection, and this is a 32 count summer Belfast linen 2/2 using the called for threads, which were Gentle Arts Weeks. There are buttons, these little tiny buttons, little round buttons for the center of the flowers, and then a butterfly button. There's some back stitches down here for the grass, and a happy little cloud. And I know that that this is Oatmeal by Gentle Arts. I remember that because I remember that was the first time I ever used. This was the first project I ever used the overdyes on, and so it was all brand new to me, and it doesn't look super great, but as you look at it, but you know, I was probably, I don't know, 19 or 20 at the time, and probably had other thoughts in my head than totally making this perfect. But regardless, this is Springs Abloom, and I need to get this finished into something as well because it's adorable and needs to be sitting out. Okay, so Springs Abloom. All right. My next past finish that I want to show you is a Lizzie Kate. And so I grew up in Kansas, out in Greensburg, Kansas, and so again, we had a local needle shop there called Starless Stitch and Frame. We also would go to Wichita, Kansas, and we went to Heart's Desire there as well, and shopped there, you know, somewhat. But anyways, this is a Heart's Desire is where I picked this up, and Lizzie Kate was from Wichita, Kansas, and so I fell in love with that because I thought, well, how cool is that? I'm working on, you know, a designer from here in Kansas, and so this piece was probably one of my, well, I wouldn't say that. It's one of the first Lizzie Kates that I did, but super sweet with the different seasons, and again, hasn't been framed, needs to get to the framer, will be going next week, but it's 28 count, 2/2 natural casual linen, which was called for, also using the called for weeks and Gentle Arts threads. There are no specialty stitches in the Lizzie Kate Welcome All Seasons. It's just the variegated overdyed floss that gives you some of this look. So very, very sweet, and I'm looking forward to having that framed and hanging on my wall. Okay, Welcome All Seasons. So our next is another Lizzie Kate, and I am pretty sure this is not all gonna fit, so I'm just going to do my best here and slide it up and down for you. But this is Families Are Tied Together with Heartstrings, and this is 28 count, 2/2, using a lamb's wool witch linen with the called for Gentle Arts threads, and then it also had the Lizzie Kate sterling silver charm, heart charm, and there were no specialty stitches. So Families Are Tied Together with Heartstrings. You know, I know some people are not, you know, some people don't necessarily like the fonts that Lizzie Kate used. They may seem childish or whatever, but I think they're very sweet, and as I've, you know, they were sweet then and they're sweet still to me today. So of course they're easy, of course they're childish, but they're primitive more than anything, and I just really love that look. So so it's very beautiful, and and very sweet. Very handmade. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so that's Families Are Tied Together with Heartstrings by Lizzie Kate. And some of you, you know, if you're watching, some of you may have some of these already in your collection. So, you know, if you've done these or if you have made these, I would love to hear about it. This one, okay, so I was looking at it and and I can tell that I've taken some creative liberties here, and I think it's kind of interesting. So I had a purple era, and so the next few 3 charts actually, which I think that's going to be all for the finishes today. There's 3 more finishes, 2 more after this one. But they are all shepherd's bush, and I had a purple era. I went to Kansas State University, graduated, and so you know, we say that we bleed purple, and so everything was you know, was purple for a while, and shepherd's bush certainly filled that gap for me. So this pansy roll, so it's supposed to look like this, and it's supposed to be tied, and it's supposed to have this hem stitch and what have you. Well, I clearly I have not added the words, and the words that are supposed to be here are pansies bloom to greet the day, nodding heads in a sweet array. And so clearly, again, I took some creative liberty, and I left the words out. And when I went back and looked at it this weekend, or this week, I figured out why, and that's because they were 1/1, and it probably scared me. So 1/1 doesn't scare me any longer. I can do it, especially with my glasses. Or my magnifying glasses that I showed on my favorite tools, and I'm going to go back and add that, but it was supposed to be here in the center somewhere, and as you can tell by the photograph, the words. And so I'm going to go back, and I think I'm going to have this piece framed, and I think I'm going to add pansies bloom to greet the day, nodding heads in sweet array down here, and I'll have to chart it all out. But it has a button, it has some antique lace, it has satin stitches, back stitching, what else? Yep, okay, it's 28 count lavender. It's a casual linen. I'm not sure who the dyer was. 2/2. The threads were DMC. And actually also maybe some, I'm not sure if that's true. Yeah, I don't, yeah, I think it is all DMC. It is all DMC. So this is all DMC, but I'm going to add the words, and then I'm going to have this framed into a long piece. So I hope I have enough. I hope I have enough extra linen here on the side, but if I turn it this way, I think I'll be able to, I think the button at the bottom will be sweet, nodding heads in sweet array, pansies bloom to greet the day, and then the pansies are blooming. And so I think that's the way I'll have it framed. This will be the top, this will be the bottom, but in any event, it's not going to be this gorgeous roll, because I clearly decided I didn't need to add the 1/1 words, and it would be fine without it. And you know what? It probably would be. If I wanted to make a roll with that, I bet you I could and just not have words, but I am going to do that and add the words and have that baby framed. So I got some satin stitches, some beads, so sweet. My goodness. Just so delicate, so precious, and truly just a classic. So doesn't you know, it doesn't matter that this is from maybe 1992 or earlier. It's, to me anyways, I think it's pretty neat because it is. So get it framed and get it finished, get it framed, and enjoy it is what my mantra is with all of these spring finishes that I'm sharing with you today. Okay, so that is Pansy Roll, Shepherd's Bush. And I will mention that I'm sure that the shepherd's bush, at least a few of these are still probably available through their website or in their store. And so you could definitely do that. Some of the other charts that I've already shown, probably available on the secondary market if you're interested in trying to find them and stitch them up. So again, these are probably available, but you just need to do a little digging for it. And I'm happy to give you more information about where I may have found it, or the name specifically, if that's helpful. Okay, so that is my first in the purple era. Next in the purple era is called A Tender Heart. And so some of these shepherd's bush kits came with, I don't know which is up or which is down, but anyways, there's probably a right or a wrong, I guess maybe this way. Yeah, probably that way. So some of shepherd's bush, at least, and I don't know if this is still the case, but at least back in the day, if you will, they would have kits, and they would have all the silks or all the floss that you needed, the linen, the buttons, the beads, instructions, but also they would include a mat board, and this is one that had a mat board, and so it's just begging to be framed, and I'm going to do that. So this is on 32 count pink alabaster. It's kind of a blushy kind of tone, and again, I don't know how well the screen is showing it, but probably washed out a bit. There are beads, satin stitches, back stitching, Smyrna type stitches here in the four corners, and there's kind of some ghosting stitches here, which I think are very pretty. Add some dimension, and tone on tone, and then tender heart back stitching. So sweet, and I cannot wait to see that framed. Pink and purple and hearts. Oh my gosh, just right up my alley here. This is like a girl's dream right here for me. And I need to get it framed. Okay, so that is Tender Heart by Shepherd's Bush. Last one in the finish, spring finish little parade here that I want to share is, again, also Shepherd's Bush. Probably not going to show, I'm sorry, all of it, but I'll move it side to side just so you can see it. 32 count antique white, stitched 2/2. I'm sorry, stitched, 32 count, stitched 2/2. It also used silk floss, so it used the Soie d'Alger silk floss, and there was back stitching, beads down here, some around the corners here. That one feels a little loose. I need to tighten that before he heads off to the framer, but no real fancy stitches, you know, other than just adding the beads. But gentle gosling, violet thread, summer song of children led, and it's just very, very, very beautiful. So again, hopefully you're able to see it all. And this was again a kit purchased probably at Heart's Desire in Wichita, Kansas, back in the day. And it is sad that Heart's Desire is no longer there. They were a great shop, so very fun, beautiful framing work, and just really, really fun to go into. So, all right, summer song. Okay, so that concludes my past finish parade of spring projects that I wanted to share with you. I want to now jump into my WIPs real quick. So there's not very many that I've been working on. I mean, I have been, but it doesn't seem like I've done a lot, but for some reason it seems like all these stitches just take so much time. So we'll jump right into that right now. So I'm gonna just take a quick break here and reset and get over to my WIPs. Okay, I'll be back in just a second. Okay, and so now here we are at my WIPs. I just have 3 to share with you today. The first one is One Stitch at a Time by LaLa. And this is a stitch along that I'm doing with, there's a Facebook group called Across the Pond, and it is Sew Me Sarah and Stitches and Diamonds and Tiny Stitcher. So Marie and Angie are also running this, and they are, yeah, there's a monthly Zoom, and they've divided the project up into 10 sections, I think, but finishing it in a year, so it's not overwhelming, and it's not a super, you know, lot of work each time. So this, I am current on this. I'm very proud to say. The next part will be this blue house, but before that, this was actually the work for both March and April. And so you know, so now I'm caught up, so I don't have any more work until May, and then May will be the house. And I'm going to just keep trying to follow along again, even though I could probably, you know, spend a couple 3 days and have this finished. I've decided to just take my sweet time and cross one beautiful stitch at a time. But I want to keep up with it and just keep going at the pace that's prescribed. So this is 46 count Wheat by Weeks Dye Works. So Wheat is the linen dye color, and Weeks Dye Works is the dyer. This is using a combination of Weeks and DMC. That's the called for. And it's kind of a mess, so I apologize. But anyways, and some people have decided to do something a little different on the house. So the house for May is, I think it's this Graphite by Weeks, and I think I'm going to substitute in a Belle Soie Puritan Blue. And so I think that will just bring out some vibrancy a little bit on it, and make the house really stand out. So I'm excited to get to that house because I love stitching with Belle Soie. But Puritan Blue is what I've selected. So we'll see once I get my first thread in if it still looks good and is good to go. I have decided also, I don't know if you can see, but I've decided that inside of these little flowers on the trees, they need to have French knots, so that will be French knots added at the end. And my little birds, I'm going to put French knots in their eyes. I did one French knot just to see if I liked it, and I think he's pretty special and pretty sweet, so I'm going to add more French knots to all of these just to give it some texture, some dimension, and I think it will help it, not help it, but just make it a little bit more special and a little bit more Susan, because the more detailed the better. That's something else you'll learn about me in all of this, and there's a lot of detail in all of these projects. So the last thing that I've changed on this had a couple of initials over here. I decided to again just do my last initial K, and I did a 1/1. I used 060 using 103 silk. So again, 060, it's kind of you can tell it's kind of a mauvey pink kind of color, similar match up here to the overdyed, but just a little bit different look, and it's 1/1 stitches. So I don't know, hopefully you can see the tiny little stitches there, but maybe don't look too close. Stitching 1/1 on linen is, because the linen is a natural fiber, you know, it's, even if it's a tiny little, you know, count or a higher count, you know, there's still natural natural imperfections within it, and so sometimes it's not as perfect as you would like, but in my case that looks pretty sweet to me, and also part of the charm of it. So beautiful things come together one stitch at a time. You'll see this again in May after I've worked my magic with the Belle Soie and the blue house. So hopefully that blue will look great with this Puritan blue. Okay, so that is that WIP, and now we'll move on to the next one, which is Let Freedom Ring by LaLa's Studio. And so LaLa's Studio, this is a big chart, and LaLa's Studio, this is what it will look like when it's finished. And LaLa's Studio, just so sweet. Independence Hall. Again, stitching this in honor of America's 250th birthday coming up in the year 2026, but I would like to have it completed so that I can have it on my wall by then. So I am not at all caught up on this one, so shame on me, but I didn't start it. They're doing weekly assignments. 20 by 40 is how they've broken it out, and weekly. So this chart is being broken into a whole bunch of little bites, and I think they are now down here on this second. So they did a row across, little sections, and now they're down in this second row, if you will. And so I've got, you know, from the weather vane over, you'll be able to see to get started on, and that's literally where I worked. As Katie Strachan said, eat your vegetables first. So I did that. I finished out my my rope border a little bit. Still, you know, there's still quite a bit more that needs to be that'll have to be completed for this one to be finished across there, but we've made some progress. And this is then where the weather vane will be, and there's back stitching up there to make the weather vane. And so the top, the bell tower, or the clock tower of Independence Hall. So again, very beautiful, a lot of colors, and they are a mix of DMC, classic color works, gentle arts. There is some 1/1 stitching on the words, and I'm using 40 count cow fodder by Dames of the Needle. And let's see, yeah, I think that's about it. I even have a needle there, one of my favorite little colonial petite tapestry needles tucked in there. So I have a lot more to go, but from where I was last time on my WIP parade, I was basically to the flag. So now I've completed this border and a little bit here, not a lot, not enough to be proud of. So, but this is one of my April goals, is to try to get caught up, at least to get the top part finished, and so that I'm not too far behind the group. So this is a Facebook group, and the Stitch Along is led by Crow River Stitcher on Instagram and also on FLOSSTUBE, and then it is the Let Freedom Ring 2025 SAL group on Facebook, and I will include that down in the description of this program today, so you can have access to that and be able to follow along and join if you'd like. There's still plenty of time. We are not close to 2026 yet, although the end of March here, we are quickly flying through 2025. So okay, so again, beautiful colors, a lot of them, and I just chose the DMCs and went with called for. All right, so that is my second WIP that I have to share with you today. My third and final WIP is going to be Anne Hughes 1852. So I showed this on my WIP parade, And when I saw it there, I was like, oh, I need to get stitching on that. It's not a very big piece, so why haven't I done a little bit more? So I did. So I spent a little time and jumped right into the house. And I apologize, this is a copy, so it's not a very good printed paper. But you can see that I've gotten, you know, pretty much, I would say, 1/3 of the house done. I have probably 2/3 more to go, and then this whole side. So I have one of the crowns here. Then I need to put some flowers, motifs, another little bird, and then this big vase, a puppy dog, and what have you. But I've got about 2/3 of the house done. I love the crosshatch look. I love this linen. This was this is a color conversion, floss conversion that I chose and made on my own. It's using 40 count warm acacia by Vera's Stitching Corner, and Vera Stitching Corner, and she's out of Canada. She also does naturally hand-dyed cotton floss, and so I found her last year and did my own color conversion here using her naturally dyed flosses, and they are absolutely beautiful. This linen is really, it's a great linen to work with. I've really enjoyed it, and I think it's going to be really, really special in the end. So if anybody is ever interested in any of my conversions that you see, I will definitely be able to share that, or would love to share that. So you can reach out in a number of ways, but my email is down below. You could comment here, or you could DM me on Instagram at SusanXStitches. So that is that WIP. All right, so that will, I think, conclude the portion of today's program in our top-down camera. So I'm gonna jump off, change the camera, and I'll meet you back over just to do a little bit of finish wrap-up. All right, thank you. Okay, we're back. Whew, that was a lot of projects. Thanks for your patience and hanging with me there as we walked through all of those past WIPs and projects, and just shared some of my beautiful things with you, and also the WIPs. Okay, so now what I would like to move on to just quickly is I have a little bit of stash acquisition or haul that I would like to share, and so it'll go quick because part of it is our market releases, and so I did receive my market order, and as I spoke about last time, of course, I said the Tiny Town Nativity and the Wise Men little cube are going to be adorable. My finisher is Faye Rigsby, the Carolina Stitcher, and I've spoken with her, and as soon as I get this stitched up, she is going to make me the drum. She did the model for Heart and Hand, and so she's going to have a drum for me, and I'm going to ask her to make a cube too. So will you make me a cube, Faye? I hope so. But anyways, I think these are going to be classics, and I just love that Tiny Town Nativity. So cute. Okay, the next one that I ordered from Market was French Rosé Marie Vallée running with needles and scissors, and you can see that it's this pink, this larger project here at the top. I know some of these smalls are not in this book. There's a separate pattern book that you need to buy if you're interested in making the smalls, although you could probably take the motifs from this larger chart and modify it down to accommodate these smaller ones, or you can just order the other set of charts. But it's the Flamingo by Gloriana. Silk is the color that is used, and I have that in my stash, and I'm excited to use it. It's one of my most favorite Gloriana silk colors, actually, was Flamingo, and so this happens to be that, and I haven't used it yet, so I'm excited. All right, so that is, again, French Rosé Marie Vallée running with needles and scissors. And you all have seen these, so I don't want to belabor this or make this longer than it needs to be here. So, and I apologize, I didn't take this out of the bag, so there's some rustling there, which I do not care for. But the next one, or the final one here that I ordered from Market, was the Jan Hicks Creates, the Milady's Posies. So I'll have the hand-dyed fibers from Vicki Clayton on order for the silks, and also the linen that is called for. And this chart will be wrapped up. I know that Jan Hicks had mentioned in her Facebook post after Market that this chart was her #1 seller, and she had sold more of this chart than she had ever sold at Market. So that means that a lot of us are going to be making this and doing this pattern. And so please, please, please share all of your work, and all of your, if you make any changes, share all of that as well. That's what's so fun about this community, either on FLOSSTUBE or on Instagram. So we get to see, and it motivates each of us to continue on. These are big projects, and you know, it kind of, you can get into it and it kind of feels like, oh my gosh, we're just trudging through. But when you see someone's finish at, you know, at the end, it's very motivating. So please keep sharing, and I'm excited to see some finishes, and it will be motivating to me to get this started. So Milady's Posies, my favorite Market release of 2025. All right, I also belong to, and I know that a couple of places, or a few places, offer this, but I purchased mine from the Fat Quarter Shop, and it's a club that comes monthly. And Classic Colorworks, the Belsois Silks is what this is, the Belsois club, and they just arrive in your mailbox every month. And they're usually color coordinated, or color, you know, seasonally kind of specific colors. So I think January was a range of blues and icy tones. February was pinks and reds. March, obviously yellow and gold and green for St. Patty's Day. I just saw yesterday that they have released what they're going to be for April, and there was some very pastel colors, Easter egg type colors. So that's going to be beautiful to see in real life. So I know you can get this, like I said, at Fat Quarter Shop. You can also, I saw yesterday that Annabelle's down in South Carolina is also doing this, and I know there's other places that do it. I just don't know off the top of my head who they are. So, but these are the colors for March, and we have Cake, Kiwi, and Weathered Vine. And so you can see, you know, as I talked about in the with my Stitch Along, and in my WIP parade, or WIPs that I just talked about a minute ago, I talked about using the Puritan Blue Belsois, and how much I enjoy Belsois. So this is a great way to add to your collection, and be able to have these on hand, so you don't have to wait for an order. So these monthly clubs. Okay, so that is Belsois. Finally, the what I would like to talk about in my stash acquisition is I've discovered this this fabulous thing called Facebook destash groups, and so all of a sudden, just you go on there and you find what you like, and you say "me please," and then the next thing you know, it arrives at your house. So anyways, I have been able to find some beautiful linen. There was a lady out of Oregon that was destashing, and she had some 40 count Lakeside and some other little specialty pieces that I decided were cherished, but I was able to purchase these, and so I just wanted to share and talk a little bit about it. They're very pastel. They look probably washed out on the camera, but the first one is Vintage Honeysuckle by Lakeside. It's kind of a pinky, orangey pastel kind of shade. It is absolutely washed out, so not a good representative there on the camera. But anyways, Vintage Honeysuckle, Lakeside. The next one is a Silk Weaver's linen, and I had never worked, and I've never seen a Silk Weaver's or even heard of Silk Weaver's, but But I can tell you that that is beautiful linen, and it's very tightly woven. It's a 40 count. It's called Golden Honey, and I think that's going to be a really nice linen to work with. So if you have an opportunity to pick up some silk weavers, I think you would be also impressed with it. The next is a Society of Soie Surfine Lakeside, and the color is Society Time. So again, these are older, you know, like maybe even like 2011 linens, so 2010. So they probably don't make, and in fact, I'm sure they don't make this one. This was probably a specialty for the, you know, maybe Acorns and Threads or something had a special club that they had linen made for, and Lakeside was the dyer. But anyways, this is kind of a mint, not really mint, I would call it a sage green, and 40 count Lakeside. The next piece is a smaller cut, and it's called Sienna Night. I do know that Sienna Night is still a current piece. This one actually was dyed though in 2010. And so I don't know how the dye lots have changed, but it's a beautiful piece. It's kind of a dark walnut, almost black color. It's really, really pretty. The next piece that I was able to acquire on the D-Stash it's called Precious, and I apologize. I have looked to try to figure out who the dyer was, and so I do not know. This was from 2013, but if anybody knows who made Precious, I would be interested to know. And I wonder if it wasn't an R&R reproduction. I'm not sure, but anyways, I would like to know who did that, and I would like to find out. So Precious is the name of it, 40 count. It's kind of a little bit red undertones, pink, but a nice taupey neutral color. And then finally, the last piece here is a 36 count, and it is a Birds of a Feather, and the color is Meadowlark. And I think that is very, very, very pretty. It's a very nice, how would I describe that? It's kind of, it has yellow and undertones and brown, but a little bit darker neutral, I guess I would call it. And just truly one of the classics, just like I spoke about that Autumn Leaves R&R from that Buzzz chart that I did. This linen is equally as beautiful, Birds of a Feather, Meadowlark. I know you can find it sometimes on the secondary market, and that's again where I found mine. So that wraps up my haul that I have to share with you. And then the next thing that I want to talk to you a little bit more about, and again, there's a lot of detail on this on my social media, on my Instagram. On March 6th, I made a post, and so you can go back and read about it. But So Be It Lorraine and I are hosting a Stitch Along, and it is, we are calling it the Heart's Content Masterpiece in the Making. And the reason we're calling it Masterpiece in the Making is because these little charts are truly masterpieces, and I say that, and I have said that, and I will say it till probably my dying day. There is so much detail and so much work in this little chart, and the picture absolutely does not do it justice. So I would invite you to go visit Maureen Appleton's website at theheartscontent.com. I will also share that information down below in my notes for the show. And but I would invite you to go check it out, and just know that if you're interested in purchasing any of her kits, they are 50% off, and whatever the picture is, it doesn't do it justice. So the real life finished product is jaw-dropping. I mean, just spectacular. So Lorraine and I are stitching English carpet. I know that that another lady from Green Bay that worked for Maureen in the, I think 90s, she said, is also joining us, and she's stitching one of the Splendor charts, and anyways, it's going to be fun. I think there's 5 or 6 so far that have said that they would join us, and most of us have had or have these charts in our collection, and so we're just pulling them back out to finish them because they deserve to be finished. And so that's more or less, but we invite you to join us. And if you've never stitched on one or even seen one, again, now is a great time to get some of her charts because they are 50% off. And the ones that Lorraine and I are working on will be silk gauze, 40 count, and this little piece will be solid. So it's going to be 2 by 3 more or less. And then it has, I think, 31 different silk flosses. This looks pretty ratty, but I need to do a little bit of work on it before I get started on this. Our Stitch Along begins on Tuesday, April the 1st, so you are not too late. And again, some people have had these in their collection and have started them and then stopped them for over 20 years. So even if you get one now and start it, and you come back to it in a couple years, or maybe even just keep stitching along, because I think our hope is to always have one of the Heart's Contents going, one of Maureen's charts projects going. So anyways, there's a lot of them and they are absolutely stunning in the end. So please join us. March 6th was my Instagram post, and you can see that on @SusanXStitches on Instagram. Okay, that is the Stitch Along. So some of my plans, in a couple of weeks, I mentioned briefly that I'm going to be in Kansas visiting my mother, and I'm very excited to also spend a little time doing some shop tours, if you will, and meeting some fellow floss tubers and Instagrammers. And so that weekend, I hope to meet up with the Sable Stitchers for lunch and shopping. And Sable Stitchers, if you see this and I haven't reached out to you yet, consider this the request, because I would like to have lunch with you and then meet you over at Quilter Station, just to do, have a little girls' afternoon, maybe on Friday, April 11th. And so that's the plan. Mom and I are planning to do that. And then on Saturday, April 12th, Jackie of Comfort Stitching and Flora Legion, a shop in Weston, Missouri, and the Flora Legion shop owner is named Gretchen. So Jackie and Gretchen have collaborated on a Stitch with Jackie afternoon, and so Jackie will be there stitching. She will have her Bridget Power project that she has just fully finished in a beautiful frame, and I cannot wait to see it in real life. Jackie, it is gorgeous in the pictures, so I can only imagine what the real life will be. And I know that Renee, Prairie Stitcher 515, will be making a trip down from Iowa to also stitch over in Weston, Missouri that afternoon. So that's going to be just a full afternoon and a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to meeting all the others that join that I don't even know about yet. So it'll be exciting to see who shows up, and it'll be great to meet everyone. And then on that Sunday, my mother and I plan to do FLOSSTUBE number 3, and it will be titled The One with My Mama. And we'll be showing some of her whips, some of her Foley finishes, objects, and also her just some finished objects that she has, and just talk a little bit more about about what mothers and daughters talk about, I guess, and stitch, and our stitching weekend, and who we met, and how much fun it all was, because I know it's going to be. And again, I invite you to join on any of those events if you're in the area. It would be super great. Reach out to me, let me know that you would love to meet up, and we'll see if we can coordinate it. All right, so that kind of wraps up my episode for today. I think that, again, next one will be FLOSSTUBE number 3, the one with my mama. And I appreciate, again, everybody's kind words, and all of the shout outs that I've received from all the great floss tubers and Instagrammers. So your words of encouragement are truly precious, mean the world to me. let's keep stitching. Let's keep crossing one beautiful stitch at a time. Until next time, all my love, blessings. Thank you.